Hey everyone! So, what if I told you that the secret to an amazing new skin cream isn't hiding in some fancy high-tech lab, but in something most of us just, throw away? Today we are diving into some really cool research that turns everyday trash into a cosmetic treasure. Let's get right into it.
All right, so here's what we're covering. First, we'll look at the problem of waste. Then we'll get into the science of how they unlocked a mango's hidden potential. After that, we'll see how the perfect cream was made, check out the data to see if it worked, and finally, talk about what this all means for the future of skincare.
First up, from trash to treasure. This is all about looking at a really common problem from a totally new perspective. I mean, it's a simple question, isn't it? You eat a delicious mango and you're left with that big, woody pit. What do? You toss it. We all do. But imagine that on an industrial scale. Suddenly it becomes a huge waste problem. Yeah, believe it or not, millions of tons of these mango seed kernels get thrown out every single year across the globe. They're just seen as waste, an agricultural byproduct that has pretty much zero value. But hidden inside these things is something really, really useful.
And that right there is the big idea that got this whole project started. Instead of seeing a giant pile of trash, these researchers saw a gold mine of opportunity. What if they could actually pull out that hidden value and make something incredible?
Which leads us perfectly into our second section, unlocking the mango's secret. This is where the cool science comes in, turning that rough, useless kernel into a really fine cosmetic ingredient.
So how'd they do it? Well, the process is actually pretty straightforward. You start with dried mango kernel powder, you soak it, blend it up, and then filter it to get all the rough bits out. Then it goes into a centrifuge that spins it super fast to separate out the heavy starch, which they then dry into this fine, pure powder.
And just look at the transformation here. On the left, you've got that coarse, raw stuff, and on the right, a completely different thing. It's this beautiful, refined white powder. And that powder, that's almost pure mango kernel starch, the foundation for our new cream.
But they didn't just stop there. To make this starch absolutely perfect for skincare, they had to modify it. The best way to think about it is like they created a tiny molecular net. This process, it's called phosphate cross-linking, basically beefs up the starch's structure. This lets it hold on to way more water, which is obviously key for a moisturizer, and it gives it the stability to create this wonderfully smooth cream that won't separate over time.
Okay, so we've got our magic ingredient. Now it's time to turn that amazing powder into an actual product. And that brings us to section 3, crafting the cream.
You know, like any good chef trying to perfect a recipe, the researchers didn't just make one version. Nope, they made 3 different formulations. They called them P1, P2, and P3. Each one was a little bit different, with slightly different amounts of ingredients, all designed to figure out how well this new mango starch could really perform.
The goal was super clear. They needed a cream that was stable, one that wouldn't separate into a goopy mess of oil and water. It had to be effective at actually moisturizing the skin. And of course, it had to feel great. That's the holy trinity of a winning cosmetic product.
All right, this is the moment of truth. Section 4, putting it to the test. All that theory, all that prep work, it all comes down to this one question. Does it actually work in the real world?
So, the million-dollar question. Did it work? Was all this effort to turn a mango pit into a fancy cosmetic ingredient actually worth it? Well, the only way to know for sure is to look at the numbers.
And wow, the data pretty much speaks for itself. The researchers tested the 3 versions across a few really important properties. And as you can see in this table, in every single key category, pH, water binding, and viscosity, which is basically just how thick it is, formulation P3 was the hands-down winner.
Let's just focus on that pH for a second. 5.75. Why is that number so important? Well, it's almost a perfect match for the natural pH of human skin. That means a cream with this pH is going to feel comfortable, it won't cause irritation, and it helps keep your skin barrier healthy and happy. P3 absolutely nailed it.
Now, check out this chart. This shows how well the cream can hold on to water, which is, the whole point of a moisturizer. A higher bar is better, and look at that. P3 is the winner again with over 77% water binding capacity. That means it's fantastic at locking in moisture and keeping skin hydrated. So the conclusion was just undeniable. Based on all the tests for stability, for effectiveness, for skin compatibility, formulation P3 wasn't just good, it was a home run. They had officially turned mango waste into a legit high-performance cosmetic ingredient. Amazing.
And that brings us to our final section, where we kind of zoom out and look at the bigger picture here, the future of skincare. Because this is about so much more than just one cool new cream.
So why is this such a big deal? Well, it ticks all the boxes. It's eco-friendly because it's literally turning waste into something useful. It's bio-friendly since the final product is perfectly in sync with human skin. It's sustainable. It closes the loop by turning a problem into a resource. And maybe most importantly, it's effective. It just plain works.
This quote from the research paper just sums up the whole vision perfectly. This isn't just a one-and-done experiment. The big goal here is to build an entire line of cosmetics based on this idea. Products that are great for our skin and great for the planet.
And that leaves us with one last really fascinating thought. I mean, if a thrown-away mango pit can become the star ingredient in a high-end moisturizer, what other treasures are we tossing out every single day? This research proves that with a bit of creativity and science, the solutions to some of our biggest problems might just be hiding in plain sight. Makes you wonder, what other waste is just out there waiting to be discovered?